Your podcast is another one of your content marketing assets, and like any asset, you have to manage it so it increases in value over time. That's why it's important to develop a podcast marketing plan. Ultimately, the plan should be part of your company's social media marketing strategy. All right, we have Audrey here, and we're going to help you create your very own podcast marketing plan.
Thanks, Martin. I'm ready.
So, Audrey, the first thing we have to do is define your goal, the big picture view of what you want to achieve.
Well, really, I'd say my goal is to increase my company's profile. And eventually I want to produce the top baking podcast in the world.
Great. Well, that's actually more of a big, hairy, audacious goal, but it's good to know where you're heading. Once you have your goal, you should develop several SMART objectives. These should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based steps you take to achieve your goal.
Okay, how's this? Increase topsy-turvy email newsletter subscriptions by 10% by the end of the year. That's tied to one of my business goals.
Works for me. Next come your strategies, which, as you know, are the roadmaps that point you in the direction of where you want to go.
I think I'll invite high-profile bakers as guests on my podcast and encourage them to promote the podcast to their audiences.
Now you're cooking. You have your goal, objectives, and strategy. Next, it's time for the frosting on the cake, developing the promotional tactics you'll use to achieve your goals. And like frosting, they're fun, creative, and require a perfect execution.
I'm pretty active on Instagram, so maybe I can promote special guests in advance by featuring photos of them and their signature pastry. I could also do an Instagram story with a fun poll, cupcake versus cookie, and then talk about the results on my show.
It's a great start.
And when I release new shows, I can share a photo on Instagram and include a link to the podcast in my bio, so listeners can access it directly from the app. Of course, I should encourage my guests to promote it on their own networks and ask customers for suggestions on future episodes.
You could also pay to boost the post or promote it on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, or Twitter. And you could reach out to micro-influencers with an offer of, say, a dozen cupcakes in exchange for mentioning your podcast. But you need to be sure the influencers disclose the promotion, even if the payment is just in baked goods.
Yeah, I could do that. Do you have any ideas how I can use my store to spread the word?
It's a great question. You could print posters featuring the show or cards with a podcast URL or a QR code that takes customers directly to the feed.
I could also print flyers or use stickers with info about my show on the boxes I use to pack my pastries.
Absolutely. And for any PR opportunities or local interviews, be sure to mention your show. When it comes to promotion, the sky's the limit. Or actually, it's your time and budget.